May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Gook Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Gook Audio and Gook Archives, doing our bit to preserve the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today we have a guest, Leland Smithson, who we call Lee. Lee came very young to Zen Center from Vancouver. But you'll hear all about that. One thing I do want to say, though, go into a little, is the stuff he's written. Now, he doesn't have a Cuke page yet. I have put a number of things he wrote on, but somehow I didn't get a single page to link to them from and all that. So I'm going to make that after this. I'll make that before I upload the podcast, so it'll be there. Leland Smithson. You can just write Smithson or Leland in the site search box and it'll zip to it. And you can see some of the stuff he's written. He's got stuff in Zen Mores, in ZC stories, spinoffs in ZC stories, some other stuff he's written there. And anyway, but aside from that, there's no mention there. If you go to Amazon.com or wherever you shop, or your independent bookstore, if there are any left near you, and you look at books in print, you'll go to Leland Smithson, Leand Smithson. And he has written some, I don't know what you call them, fantasy books, science fiction. Here's one. These are serious books. The Imago Shell, 2019. Amalgam, the Bonding Twin, 2015. Oh, there's a fiction anthology. I guess he's in it. Cross-time science fiction anthology. I don't see his name there, but it's listed with his name. And then Aurelius Fountain, 2015. Geomorph, 2015. He published a bunch in 2015. I guess he'd been working on them and got his nerve up and did it. I guess that's it. That's plenty. Huh. All right. Well, good for you, Leland. Wow. Okay. Well, look, not much else to say. Let's see what's happening on the front here. My son Clay, his wonderful mate, April, their delightful 1.5-year-old daughter, Isla, have been visiting here for a few weeks, and they've got a few weeks left. And it's been great. It's been raining a lot here. It'll rain some when it's not the rainy season. Rainy season here in Bali is like, November through March in there. It's rained a lot for the last week. And we're planning on going to this island. We were planning on going today, but we had to cancel that and go tomorrow. The boats aren't even running because it's too rough. It's a 30-minute fast boat ride. So I think the boats will be running tomorrow because it hadn't been raining at all here today. It didn't last night. And it was a little windy this morning when I went out to walk early. But if the boats are running, it'll still probably be a fairly rough crossing, which means you go up, bang, bang, down, up, bang, bang. And it's really nice when there's a smooth crossing, but we'll see. Also, we'll be taking a chance of getting stuck over there. So we'll see. I'm not so worried about it. We'll see. I remember that happened. That has happened, people getting stuck over there. And some people, they have to get back. They pay $500 for a helicopter ride. Okay. Well, let's see. What else? Oh, I just want to say one little thing. We had some problems here. I called Komang. I call him Komang Pompa because he fixed a problem we had on our pump. Our pump just kept going on and off, on and off. And that's the tiniest little leak. I'd have to go find it or shut off. There'd be some toilet that was just running infinitesimally. And, I asked our regular plumber, I said, I've put in pumps where you have it won't do that. It'll wait till the pressure's down and then bang, start again. So, but this one just would start and stop and start and stop. It was driving me crazy. So I met this other Komang, both of them are Komang, and he said, "Oh, you should try a York Automatis on it." And I read the instructions on the box, and it said that specifically it'll stop that problem because it won't start again until a leader has leaked. So that's fine. And that changed our life here. Changed mine. I have to think about those things. But anyway, he came over and fixed some things, and his long hair was gone. And Katrinka said, "Oh, you cut your hair." And he said, "Yeah, I had a baby. My wife had a baby." And I said, "Oh, is that a thing? Guys cut their hair here if their wife has a baby?" He said, "Yeah." And I checked with another local. And he said, "Yeah." I thought that was interesting. Like sort of purifying yourself or something like that. And I know one thing I mentioned in the podcast because that podcast was done like 3 months ago or something. I mentioned that I was going with our housekeeper and her husband and her kids to the Mother Temple for a ceremony. And I didn't know what the ceremony was about, but I do now. It was just the birthday of the temple, but it's the important temple. So like, everybody in Bali was going there, I swear, for a whole period of like a week or two. People were going there. And that was great. We had 2 little ceremonies, and they're very simple. I really like them. They just pour a little water in your hand, and then you cup your hand. Oh, you got to put, I think it's the right hand over the left. See, I'm used to the mudra, the Zen mudra, or maybe it's the Buddhist mudra, put the left hand over the right, and only Buddha sits with the right hand over the left. So it's just totally natural for me to put the left. But I think the guy was pouring the water. But it's not like it's a little different from a mudra. You cup your hands so you can keep water in it. He pouring the water in there. He changed my hands, so the right hand was over the left. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, pours it in, take a sip. Pours it in, take a sip. Pours it in, and you can pretend to take a sip if you're worried where the water came from. Take a sip. And then the 4th one, or sometimes the 5th one, I don't know. You just sort of watch what others are doing. Then you just splash it in your face, put it on your head. It's not a lot. And before they do that, sprinkle water on you. And before that, there's these little baskets of flowers. You take flour, and you're sort of like a gasho bow. And then you put the flour, like, I wear a special head thing. I wear a sarong, a special head thing, and then I put the flour in it or something. And then about 3 times you bow with, like, flowers. And, it's just very simple stuff like that. You don't have to think anything. You don't have to believe anything. You just sit there and you're doing it with other people, and it's nice. So we had a couple of those. Well, since Clay, April, and Isla are here, we arranged to go to the Mother Temple last Saturday for full moon, Purnama. And so that's I'd asked Kadek, the housekeeper, I said, we should take them up there. That's really a trip. And it's really, it's not one temple. It's got, like, depending on how you count, it's got over 40 temples. And I think 23 major ones and 20 minor ones. But if you count little tiny ones, it's more. But so they're all over. So we went there, and, oh, God, you got to walk up to it. But that was all right. And then we had the first one where we just sit with the group, and they're just doing it all day in front of one temple. And then we went to another one. It's more like a shrine. This is their family temple there. I mean, they use the word pura for temple, but it's even used for tiny little shrines or altars, So it's everything from something giant to something tiny. Although they can call the home altar, the home one, Sangha, just like Buddha Sangha. So we went to their family one. Now, this isn't their small family. This is like the what do you call it? The Turunan. That means the falling, the lineage. That would be a wide group of people that are in that lineage. We went to that temple, and we had another one of them. So it's neat. And, they don't, tourists don't normally get in to do that. It was neat, So we had a good time. So that's all I have to say. I just wanted to rap a little about what we were up to. And they're gone a lot, which actually I like. One thing about having people come is, feeling obligated to take them around. And I don't like to get in cars and go places so much anymore. But Clayman, he rented a motorbike. It's pretty cheap. And they've been going places, and we just tell them where to go, what to do. They did do an all-day trip with another driver who took them to a bunch of places that were far away. It was an all-day trip, leaving early in the morning and coming back at night. And they loved that. They went to this Tanlat, the most famous temple here, which is like on a little tiny outcropping in the ocean, and it's got a little cave there back on the land with snakes in it, and you can hold the snakes. And there'll be a priest there, and there's priests on the island too, and they purify you with water. And they did that. They went to the butterfly park, and that's neat. And it's neat to get there early. So they left really early because the butterflies are out mainly in the morning. And then they went to Baturiku, a really neat, beautiful temple. They loved it. More elaborate. Temples here are pretty plain. They don't have a lot of statues or anything like that. They're more like hollow. They're almost related to like Muslim, shrines and temples which don't have any representation of anything. Although I know Hinduism does, and they talk about Brahma and Vishnu and Shiva and stuff here, but they're really into the animism spirits, and so there's no representation. So they're the farthest thing from Muslim, but they don't have any statues, although some do. They have. It's more like the protector, guardian deities in Zen temples. And they went to a warm spring. They call it hot spring here, but it's a warm spring, and they got in the water there. And then they went to Jati Lui, the most famous rice. It's this giant valley of rice terraces and paddies, this giant sawak, and it has the famous Balinese irrigation system, which was developed here centuries ago, which keeps it all watered really. It keeps the water flowing through it with all these little tiny gates and things. What's that called? The subak. And then on the way home, they went to this. I said, you got to go to Dadari for dinner. Dadari's like an angel, or better than that, like what would you say? Like a fairy or a goddess, that sort of thing. And that's it's got like little huts where you sit around a lake, and it's really nice. So they had a wonderful day on that. So their daughter, Isla, went with them on that trip because it was a car, and Kadek was there to help with Isla so they could, see things. When they got to Jati Lui, they ran down trails into the valley and walked all over there. It's great walking down there. It's all this neat stuff, I'm just super picturesque. But they don't take Isla on a motorbike. Now, they did once, and then we forbade it. We just, but it's everybody does it here. Taking babies on motorbikes and just holding them in your arms is done all the time, everywhere. And motorbikes, I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen pictures of it. It's not only in Indonesia, it's all over Asia and probably other countries. I don't know. But families on motorbikes. I have seen a family of 5 on a motorbike with 2 dogs. That was the most extreme. But it's not uncommon to see 4, like mommy, daddy, and 2 little kids, and dogs on motorbikes. Anyway, no, we said no. So, we have Kadek, and we have another housekeeper. It comes when Kadek's not here. So we can have help anytime. And we sort of split it. It's like if they're gone and Kadek or Katut are here, probably it's split 3 ways. Katrinka, me, and one of them. But they're not here all the time. So sometimes it's just Katrinka and me, and sometimes it's just Katrinka, and sometimes it's just me. We like to give them some freedom because, they've it's just the 2 of them and her in a country where you don't get much help. Taking care of her just naturally. We don't time it out. But it's pretty easy, and she's really easy to be with. In fact, both of Clay's daughters, his 5-year-old Lucia's back, they're just really nice and really easy to be with and take care of. They're delightful. It's really great. And Clay was a lot of trouble as a kid. So it's really interesting, huh? He was fun as a little kid. He was really aggressive. His favorite thing was running and charging me and smashing into me. They're They went to see the Indiana Jones movie today because they thought it was going to rain, but it hadn't been raining. The movie theaters here are really nice. A lot of places I've been in Asia, things are newer than in America. In America, like all this stuff was developed, but a lot of it's old. Where you're in Asia, a lot of stuff is new. This sort of thing, like movie theater. Movie theaters here are just really nice, and they have VIP sections. You can go eat and lounge. I really don't like that. I just want to sit up, have it be quiet, no one bothering me. Although I have probably averaged one movie every 2 years here in a theater, but they're nice. Anyway, I just wanted to share a little of all that. So look, I'm going to give Leland a call now, just as soon as we've had our pause to meditate. So when you hear the bell, if you're of such a mind, hit pause. Meditate or whatever for as long as you wish. And when you're ready to come back, hit unpause, and we'll be here to hit the bell to end the meditation or whatever. And we'll give Leland Smithson a call, so to speak.
Hello there.
Lee.
Hey, David. How are you?
All right. How you doing?
I'm okay. Where are you?
Bali.
Oh, wow. That's what I thought. It must be morning time there or something, huh?
Yeah, it's a little after 11 in the morning.
Oh, okay.
So at 11 we start calling it Siang, which is like 11 to 3.
Wow. No. Siesta time?
Right. So where are you?
Well, I'm in San Rafael, California.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you up to?
Well, I got married recently to a woman I've been with for about 8 years.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Well, thank you. And she was a student of Backhorst, who just died.
Oh, right? Yeah. I was really sorry I missed the funeral. Yeah. I felt really bad about that. Well, anyway.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So what do you want to talk about?
What we're talking about right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was a student of Leila's. When we lived in San Rafael for 2 years before we came here, I would go sit with Leila on the morning she sat. And I'd sit with the other groups. There were like 5 groups in that area. I'd sit with like once a week. Not always. But Leila was my favorite because she didn't give a long talk or anything. And I got to where I had to get up. I just went and sat and left because I couldn't listen to all those talks during the week.
Exactly. Yeah.
And she'd just read a little something for 10 minutes, and it was great.
Yeah. No, she was good. Yeah. I always remember Leila. That was at Tassajara. We were all together there, and you were there, and she was there with her husband at the time. And I never really got close to her, but I always felt her presence, and I always there was something about her. I don't know,
Yeah. No, she had a beautiful vibe, and incidentally, her husband then it was her husband up until when she died, Jim Bockhorst.
He's a great guy too. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, really good to work with. I worked with him, and Layla did a lot of work for Cuke Archives. You know, the thing I do, which I really appreciated.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, she was really high-end typist, transcriber. She transcribed a lot of interviews, and not long before she died, she did. She transcribed. Listened to the tape. One of the newly found Suzuki Roshi audio tapes.
Oh, really? Oh, my goodness. So that's great.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know that about that. I didn't know that at all. Wow.
Yeah.
So David, what made you move over to Bali, over to there? Because you've been over there for a little while now, right?
Yeah, this is our 10th year. We could, and we had a little money and knew it would last longer, and stayed because we can live at a much higher standard of living here than we can in America. The people are very nice, and really nothing's more important to me than I can concentrate on work here really well, better than anywhere.
Wow.
But tomorrow I am being taken away from my noble work. Our housekeeper, her family is going to the Mother Temple a couple of hours away for a ceremony that comes up in their family or whatever, I don't know, their neighborhood or something, every 3 years. And so they asked me to go with them. So they're picking me up at 7 a.m, and she brought by a white shirt because I have to be in white. But she said some tan pants will be right, and I'll wear a sarong. But I have like 2 sarongs, but she won't accept them. She'll bring one for me that she thinks is right. She dresses me.
Now.
Yeah,
you have to. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go on.
Well, I was just wondering. You got to be in the back of a bike too, right? A bike.
I don't get on motorbikes. No,
it's deadly over there.
Yeah, well, maybe once a year I will for a short run when I need to, and Katrinka will. You know, they've got a helmet law here, and traffic is less dangerous here than there. It doesn't go as fast, and people are very considerate drivers.
Oh, okay.
But I don't like to get on motorbikes. They're like have 30 times the accident death rate that cars do.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I drive one. I drive one here. I've got a Ducati. I kind of go up and down the coast between here and Canada a couple times a year.
Wow.
I enjoy the bike.
Well, I know people do. Well, be careful. I don't like to get in cars either, but I'll have to get in one and ride, and they'll let me sit in the front.
Okay.
We walk a lot here. So now, so what are you doing these days in San Rafael?
Well, I'm, essentially I have sort of retired just last year. And so I'm in that transition zone between having some kind of a regular job that I used to have, which was, I worked on movie sets, doing painting and plastering and that kind of stuff, and scenic painting, that kind of stuff. So, and then I was in commercial work in a union in San Francisco. But I just sort of stopped all that, and now I'm sort of I have a Canadian pension and an American pension.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, so it's kind of like so I'm trying to figure out how to not keep busy. I don't want that. I want to be creative and do a lot of reading and stuff. But, it's at that transition zone between where your life is laid out from morning to night with your daily work and all that means. And then suddenly there's no roadmap in front of you. There's no road,
Yeah.
And so I'm sort of dealing with that. It's a sense of meaning, and you realize all that meaning came out of the things that you did on a regular basis as part of survival, in the world.
Yeah.
And now, so how do you garner meaning, from nothing that's in front of you? I mean, I guess this is where practice would come in, and so we're gonna go back into sitting zazen. I haven't really practiced for years, but
well,
so
it's always there waiting for you.
yeah. Well, I swim in the bay too. I've run into Reb Anderson and his wife. She goes down there alone, and I got introduced to the bay through Peter Vandersteer.
Oh yeah.
So, we swim in the bay there. I'm really, that's an enjoyable thing.
At the Polar Bear Club?
Yeah, the Dolphin Club, yeah.
Oh, the Dolphin Club. Right.
Yeah, but we do the polar bear swim every year. It's what is it? If you're under 60, it's 40 miles in 3 months. So it's December 21st to March 21st. You got to get 40 miles in the water.
Wow.
And then you get a polar bear sort of souvenir. You know what I mean?
What if you're over? What age did you say? What if you're over 60?
Well, then you only have to do 20.
All right.
Yeah, but I still do 40. I try to do 40 every year.
Oh, that's excellent. I swim out here in the ocean year round, inside a reef, but it's sometimes it's a little cool. That's about. If you get out in beyond the reef, it can be be a little cold. It can be somewhat cold.
It is. The water there is cold, huh?
If you get beyond the reef in the open water, it can feel it, but you don't need a wetsuit or anything, It could just...
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be like 70 or... I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But inside the reef, it's usually pretty nice. And I don't swim outside the reef.
No, I'd be worried about sharks and stuff like that.
I never hear about sharks here. I never have heard about a shark or a tsunami. I don't think there's any tsunami history here.
Wow.
And we live pretty near the ocean. There's some islands out there that might break a tsunami. But anyway.
Yeah. What's the name of your town?
Sanur, Sanur.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, now, you're from Canada, right?
Yeah, originally from Vancouver. Yeah.
Oh, what a great place. Wonderful place. Huh?
Yeah, well, it's nice to be able to go between, go back and forth. It gets cold up there and rainy, and you come down here, and it's like pretty nice.
Uh-huh.
I just saw Janie and Taro. They both moved up to Washington State.
Now, wait a minute. Tell me who can you use?
Janie Okamura. Janie.
And who?
Okamura.
And who?
And Taro Smithson. Taro, my son. I have a son that's 35.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were visiting him in Seattle.
Yeah, no, he's up there in Seattle, yeah. And so his mom was up there visiting. And so we all hung out. So he's hanging out with my family up there, which is my half sister, and she's got a large family, and she's a real estate person. So he's getting connected to the whole Seattle scene. And it does nothing but good for them to get out of California, really.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. Jenny didn't tell me that. We're in occasional contact, and
oh, okay.
Taro helped me move my storage and everything before we left for here.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have heard from him since then, but yeah, it's good to hear about him. That's good. That's good.
He's doing good. He's doing good too. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So you came from Canada. So how did your life progress from there? I mean, I met you at Tassajara. What happened between your birth and Tassajara that would have led you to Tassajara?
Okay, because I did those two little write-up things in Kook.com, right? That sort of describe being at Tassajara and so on. So for getting there, let's see. Well, I think it's like evolution. When something oppresses you, or you are under pressure or something, you float off in a different direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You try to, and survival is really, when people are compressed or oppressed, they find a way out. They find a way forward.
Yeah.
And that's usually in evolution. So for me, in my teens, my mom left my dad, and she took my sister with her back east to his family in Toronto. So it was my dad and I. So there was a breakup in the family when I was 13. So I think that was a kind of, I can't really, try to imagine that there was. So there's a lot of, so I kind of went off a little bit on the deep end there. And then my dad sort of, I had to go to work because I quit school. And so I went off to logging camp. So he got me lined up with a guy who could go down. And when I was basically 14, I was working my first logging camp. I was working, so
wow.
Then in a logging camp at I think it was 15, I was there reading on Taoism, books on Taoism. And then I read the Be Here Now book by Ram Dass.
Yeah.
I got that. And I was reading that, and then there was a section in there on Tassajara and Suzuki Roshi.
Yeah.
And it wrote, there was a phone number. I remember there was a phone number, right? And I thought, wow, it's like, this is not just a fantasy book. There's a phone number I can call. So I called that number, and it was direct to Tassajara. So I was talking with someone at Tassajara from a logging camp in Canada. And, because I was trying to meditate, I was trying to do something that so I was seeking in some sense. And, I got a hold of someone through the staticky line, and I was talking, and I said, well, I'd like to come there. And they said, well, you have to first go to the city. You have to go to San Francisco. You have to go to 300 Page Street. So, so then I kind of made as much money as I could after, then that was it. And I took a bus down, and there I was. I arrived at the San Francisco Zen Center, 300 Page Street, and there was Tommy Dorsey, the first guest student manager.
What year was that?
That was 1973. It was, I think, a year after Suzuki Roshi died.
He died in 71 in December.
Oh, it might have been. Well, it's a year. I thought it was. Well, maybe I was there in 72.
Yeah,
but I can't really remember. It was 72 or 70. But I heard it was a year after, and so I don't remember what that was exactly, but I was there. Peter Van de Steer, we were the first, Tommy Dorsey's first guest students. So there was Peter Van de Steer and myself, the young logger from Canada. You know.
Well,
so that's how I got there.
In 72, I was the work leader in the building. So you might remember that.
Yeah.
And then in 73, I was at Green Gulch.
Okay.
So that
So 73, that would have been the very beginning when they was that when they were first converting those buildings that had been given over to Zen Center?
Which buildings?
Well, I don't know. The Green Gulch was in 1973 was the year I had to spend 6 months there. So I think it was 73 that I was in the city. So maybe I missed you. Maybe you went to So I was so I lived outside the building until the maximum amount of time I needed to, or the minimum amount of time in order to get to Tassajara.
Yeah.
And then it took me 8 months or whatever. I went to work, and then I came back, and then I went to Tassajara. So, and that was the time and then Tassajara, when I went to Tassajara, that's the year the big snowfall happened, right? The fire and the snowfall. Not the fire, but the big snowfall where you hiked in.
Oh, that was 74.
Okay, so 74 was when I went first to Tassajara, because we followed you after. I came with John Bales and the otother Harvard guy, I forgot his name. So we went in on
John
snowshoes.
Steiner. John Steiner.
No, not John Steiner. It was John Bales and I forgot the other guy's name. I can picture him, but it wasn't John Steiner.
We had so many people from Harvard.
Yeah, I remember that. So, and those were quite the events, really, climbing over that mountain and everything that followed.
That could have been, was I the head monk or the director?
Well, I don't know what you were at Tassajara, because you had come in ahead of us by like a few days or something.
Oh, all right. Then that was head monk.
Came in
I thought you were putting us together.
Came in
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was heavy,
so
heavy
you came
snow.
In to be,
yeah.
Well, yeah. And you guys didn't have any snowshoes or anything.
Right.
You must have been, that was an interesting.
Oh, it took us 24 hours. It was an ordeal.
It was, that's, something? That was really dangerous, actually.
No, it was.
That's amazing.
I was crawling through 3 feet of snow, and Peter Overton and Susan, I think she was Susan Burns then before they got married. They went together, and she could walk on top of it, but he and I were too heavy. And we walked. We continued. I just said, "Don't worry, we'll just keep going." It's not, it's a limited. It was just on top for a few miles that was really hard, but I was on crutches after that. And
24 hours. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I didn't ring the wake up bell because my leg hurt. And then in my Shuso ceremony, Richard Baker dressed me down for not ringing the wake up bell, and he was right, because at some point I could have started ringing it, but after that, I rang the wake up bell for the next 5 months. And I think when I was director for a year, I rang it for some people that couldn't. I rang the wake up bell so much, I made up for it. But that was very unwise. And All right.
So that was my first training period was when you were head monk then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Dana did. So I sat Tangario with Dana Dantine.
Ah.
That was my partner for Tangario. Yeah.
Ah. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know what's happened with all these people, but you know.
We don't know what's happened with Dana. He just sort of disappeared.
Well, Dana he had a lot of money. He could just take off. Yeah.
Yeah. About 5 years ago, I can't remember how long. He was in a men's group, and I don't know. He just disappeared. But yeah, maybe we'll hear from him again. I really liked him.
No, he was a cool guy actually, and
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, his father was Helmut Dantine, right? And he was a famous movie actor that played German commanders in the movies. So he made a lot of money.
He was in Casablanca. He was
probably.
He was He was the German officer or whatever who he played a game of pool or something and let somebody else win or something. I can't remember it now. But what he did later on is he produced movies. He produced movies for Sam Peckinpah and worked with Peckinpah and yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So Dana, and I think he married a woman also that had a fair amount of wealth there, but he didn't. He was basically spending his time just managing the wealth in a sense. You know, that was his dad died, and you know he inherited.
I don't know about that.
But
he had a brother.
Well, yeah.
And they had to do something with it. His father was very concerned about him and really. They had a difficult relationship, and his father really wanted Dana to be happy, and he didn't want him to be restricted by Tassajara. And actually, his father and I had a sort of secret relationship. When I was in L.A., he'd take me out to dinner. He wanted to hear about Dana. When he came to San Francisco, he'd take me out and ask about Dana.
Wow.
And that was like, you know, it was like very, very important to him.
Yeah.
And he ate at Green's once with, you know, and Dana had been working at Green's and but anyway, yeah.
And Dana also, along with some other people, he started to swim at the Dolphin Club a little bit too.
Oh, is that right?
Way back. Yeah, he did a little bit there too. He wasn't a full-fledged, you know, guy going in all the time, but he was swimming there with some of them. Yeah. Peter Van Stier, I think. And, yeah. Wow. I'd be wondering what's happened to him. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I recall, you when you came to Tassajara in '74, you were 19. Is that right?
No, 17.
Oh, 17. So you know, you and Ken Berman. Did you ever meet Ken Berman?
Kim or
Ken, Ken.
Well, there was I didn't meet him. I met there was a kid from Montreal, I think, that was really young that came, but no, I don't remember him. Ken Berman was there when Suzuki Roshi was there, and he was there very young, like you. I mean, 17. Wow. You know, I mean, it's sort of an adult, really. Yeah. But I've seen females take to practice younger.
but it was very rare for a
Wow.
male to until they got 20 or older.
Yeah.
So I remember that you were a trailblazer.
Well, well, for the males, I guess the male side, yeah. Only because I didn't know what I was doing, David.
Oh, is that right? And you think other people did?
Probably.
You think other people knew what
Well,
they were doing?
I don't know. They certainly made the appearance that they did.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's the best thing to say about other people. We don't know what's happening with them. Well, so what was it like at Tassajara for you?
Well, it was both a wonderful adventure, but it was also that I could tell that I was not like everyone around me, being young, and it could have been my own sort of isolation. I don't know, and going to logging camps when I was young and this and that. But I just always felt, isolated. I don't know. I mean, not really. I mean, I loved Linda Cutts, and I had friends there for sure, but there was an age gap between me. So most everyone else was easily out of college, right? At least out of college.
Yeah.
And here I was, just kind of this guy from a logging camp, was reading on his own, basically. So I felt sort of solitary. I felt a lot of, not isolated. I felt more solitary. Like I really couldn't. So I was learning, and people would tell me stuff, and I felt like I was just a sponge, sort of sucking up, just absorbing whatever I could around me. But I didn't really have what you call, comrades that were someone similar age, So that was always seemed to be a factor to me. I always felt like a little outside, a little outside.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the older people who were there had, experiences of being older and not like everybody else.
Yeah. No, that too. Yeah.
Lucille Harris.
I identified more with you. I was always watching you on the outside because you're the Texas guy. You were always outside. You sort of were a little wild,
Yeah.
And I kind of looked up. I would look at you and I watched you and I went, wow, God, there is room for someone like that,
Yeah.
You added life. I added life to it. And, when you're up in the garden there, you were in that cabin there with your wife at the time. I guess she was your wife, right?
Yeah. Diane Goldschlag.
Yeah.
Our baby Kelly.
Yeah. And that was just, was a wonderful thing. I don't know. You just, there was a lot of life there. I think things have been more constrained now. They're much more constrained there and ordered,
Yeah, that maybe so. Yeah, I haven't been there in a while. I always liked Tassajara. I always liked going back. But the last time was probably about 12 years ago. I'd go in the summers and wash dishes for 10 days. I loved doing it, and I loved being there. And so did Katrinka, and so did Kelly.
Yeah.
And
you, Green Gulch was really one of your places too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and I should say, so did Clay, my younger son. He had great experiences.
He's a writer. Which one is the writer? Is it Clay? Is the writer?
Well, no. Yeah, Kelly. Kelly put out a book on an anthology of poetry on mushrooms. But he certainly has. He's written a lot about mushrooms and fungus.
Oh,
and they were very good
wow.
articles.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Writing for some magazine.
Yeah.
And he could, but he's so busy doing other things.
Living.
Yeah. He's got a big tree trimming business. He's an arborist.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Where is he? Where is he?
Spokane.
Oh, wow. So he's up there in Washington State, too. Wow.
Yeah. And Diane, who became Dia, she's up there, and she's got a little sitting group.
Oh.
And she plays softball. And she was in a softball tournament this year. She had to go to Arizona for one of them.
Wow.
Yeah, great?
I remember about your music, David, was too. Your music was, I remember you taking your son, and I was in a punk club or someplace, and you had your son, I think it was Kelly, wrapped up, and he was going wherever you went, he went, right?
Well, I couldn't take him inside the clubs.
No, I saw you inside. You were inside some clubs.
Oh, really? Oh, well, then they let us in. They were sort of outlaws to begin with. I loved the underground music scene, and I made a lot of underground music.
Yes, I know.
I've got one album of really bizarre underground music on online, and I've got 9 other albums online, and I'm getting a whole bunch of, I guess you call it underground music, super underground, ready to, I'm going to make it into a few albums. It's a lot of it. 'Cause you can upload things now and get them on the internet, and it's fun. I have artist pages and on a bunch of, YouTube, Spotify, and stuff.
How do I locate your music then? Do I have to have Spotify, or
no?
Can I locate you by
YouTube, Apple Music, Deezer. You go to, if you go to Cuke.com and go down to the bottom, there'll be there's a whole bunch of links. Or if you want to hear some of the, but actually the thing that is easiest that will take you to my music site is baliyuga.com, BALIYUGA.com. And it goes to my music site, which is really diffusermusic.com, but then you can, there's a link right there to my artist pages, and you can that will take you to one of them, and you can see the albums that are online. And there's a whole ton of music on the site too.
Okay. baliyuga.com.
baliyuga.com.
Okay.
Yes. That. Thank you for bringing it up and allowing me to make this advertisement.
Well, of course. Well, so that's your inspiration for a lot of people, and you're creative, so that's why. Who else is doing Cuke? Other people have come in on Cuke.com, I'm sure, but everybody does. It's a huge resource.
I don't advertise or promote anything, so I think Cuke.com right now it's getting about 1,400 visits a day. But I think a lot of them are accidental because it's so giant. It has, I don't know, maybe over 10,000 files on it, and that's in over 10,000 images. What? It's I work with a guy named Peter Ford, who's constantly working on it. I mean, it's like this giant machine that needs maintenance all the time. We have multiple contacts every day, and he's the managing director, and I'm on special projects, but there's so much comes up, I can't get through anything. I'm trying to finish a book called Tassara Stories, but it's very hard to get to it because of everything that comes up. Right now, I'm going over a book that Mel Weitzman wrote before he died, and it has a bunch of lectures of Suzuki Roshi's that he worked on. But I'm going over 72 pages of autobiographical stuff, and that's taken most of this week. It's just, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hey, get back to you. I appreciate you letting me talk about all that, but that's enough of that. So how was your relationship with Richard Baker?
Relationship with Richard Baker was, I thought I respected him, and he gave me a lot of leeway, so to speak. When I was at Tassajara, for example, I was a voracious reader. I needed to, because I was so young, I hadn't, I just needed to read and read, and I needed to study and get as much as I could and understand. So he allowed me to stay up late at night. I don't know if you knew that. So I stayed up late. So, I was getting for two of those training periods, I was probably getting about 4 hours sleep a night. But then he pulled me in at one point, and he lectured me, and he said, "You're staying up longer than you're supposed to," because basically he felt he had to stay up, until my light went up, until, you know what I mean? So however late I was up, he was up that late.
Oh, baloney.
So
that's just something he made up for the moment. Oh, that's something.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think.
Well, anyway.
That's skillful means.
He gave me hell.
I was up. I was up like that. And I would see your light.
Yeah.
And Jed Lindy. Jed Lindy was always up.
Yeah.
And, I never bothered anybody who stayed up late. You weren't supposed to. And we had the fire watcher go around and say lights out. Not long after the end of Zazen, say, I don't know, 30 minutes after that, they go around and see all the lights were out. And I'd hide from them, and I was getting 4 hours sleep too. I was driven.
Yeah,
I was studying a lot.
That's what I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dick Baker, I left before all the stuff went down.
Yeah.
But I do remember feeling I was attracted to one of the ladies. I can't remember who it was. That was sort of serving him tea, that was serving his needs or whatever. And
Anja,
pardon?
His Anja, probably his cabin cleaner.
No, I can't remember who it was. It was a woman with brown hair, shortest brown hair, very gentle. And I remember being attracted to her. And there was this point where we were leaving Tassajara during the fire. I think it was the fire thing. And, I was sitting beside her, and Dick Baker kind of came by, and I noticed her cringe or pull away from me or whatever. It was something, it was kind of and I noticed it just, and I thought, oh, okay, it's odd. Her behavior changed. So it was an odd behavior because she was sort of semi-attracted as well. So, and it just became a sort of oh, that's odd. I don't know what happened there. And then I never really engaged with her anymore. But that was as close as I ever came to knowing anything about him. But in terms of his character, I don't know. it's one of those characters. I guess he came. He asked Jim Bockhorst to come to the funeral, and he came. So Dick Baker came to the funeral, Layla's funeral.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
I'm so sorry I missed it, but anyway, go on.
Yeah, no. So, I have, and the reason I left Zen Center and I actually talked to him about it was I just felt I didn't have any connection with people, and that's after 8 years. I couldn't really, no one really knew what my practice was or what I was doing, So, so he offered me priesthood.
Oh, really?
He offered to ordain me as a priest and so on, or monk. I guess a monk. I don't know how you.
We never said monk. We never said monk, But
yeah, so he offered that to me, as incentive to stay, but I had already made up my mind. So that was my last interaction with him.
And where'd you go?
Well, I went back up to Canada. Yeah, I went back up to Canada. I moved up there for 6 years or 5 years. So that part of the story is in one of those two little memory pieces that I gave you,
right.
that I sent you. It's in one of those, and that's the second one. I think there was Zen More, but then there's the other one, and that one really describes my life after I left Zen Center for that 6 years or whatever. And then I came back to California after that. So.
Yeah. Well, do you have one of those in front of you that you could read, or do you want to tell us what it says?
I don't have it in front of me. No, I have to search it out on my laptop, and I don't think I even have it in there. It's on some file on one of those sticks somewhere, but I put it out.
All right. I
sent it to you. It's on your site there.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's Cuke.com. Okay. You know how I found it. I went to Cuke.com. This is the way I used it. I relate to Cuke.com online first because it's just so quick and easy. So there's a site search box there, and I just wrote Leland in it, Leland, because there's no other Leland. I wouldn't write Lee. You're called Lee now, right?
Yeah. Either one doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wrote Leland, and it immediately went to ZC's stories. Well, actually, it might have gone to. Anyway, I got you right away. And here I am. I think it went to one link, and I hit it, and I have two things from you: Zen Mores and spin-offs and spin-backs.
So the spin-off is titled for When I Left, and then spin back is like 8 years later. I come back in. I came not to Zen Center per se, but back to California, and sort of rotating around the Zen Center establishment, but not really a part of it.
Oh, here I see in the spin back. This is you asking Trungpa. It starts.
Oh, yes.
You say, if you put a mirror in a box, does the mirror reflect the darkness in the box? And you don't say who it is right here. Oh, no, there it is. I don't know if you use his name. I don't see it right there. But anyway, it just says, he looked at me for a moment, then turned to an attendant and asked for a glass of water. The Zen Center lecture hall was packed. The hoarseness of a horse and beingness of a being. Responses all seemed to have ended with my question. Oh, here it is. to Chogyam Trungpa. As a prolonged silence fell over the room, I felt a sudden and excruciating embarrassment at having asked the wrong question. Trungpa was just sitting there waiting for me to say something more. Finally, he swung back with a bored look, and after pondering me for what felt like a couple more minutes, he said, "You put the mirror in the box, you figure it out."
That's exactly right.
And then you say, "This is great. I was an insect pinned to the wall."
I'm sorry. That's some early writing efforts there. Yeah.
No, that's great. I remember I really like them. I will put anybody from back then writes. I don't even, unless there's something offensive in it, or if they're putting down other people.
Yeah.
That's the only, you know, I don't have to worry about pornography with them. But every once in a while, you know, or, you know, something like that. I think about people's feelings, except if they're real important people like Suzuki and Baker. I pretty much will put anything about them. With Suzuki, I'm starved for negative comments about him. I always went, "Oh, great. This person," you know.
So he interesting. Okay, so you can never find anything negative about Suzuki Roshi.
No. I didn't say that. I said when somebody said something negative about him, I'd say, "Oh, great," and you know, I would get more negative about him from his family, and you know, that's all in Crooked Cucumber and very long interviews with them or on Cuke.com and stuff. But and you know, when he came to America, he was just the right person in the right place at the right time. God. Yeah. It wasn't him. That was one of the whole points of Cuke Archives. Is you know, and it goes along with Buddhism's view of phenomena of the universe. Is nothing exists independently, right? Everything is interrelated with everything else, and
codependent.
Yeah, you and I created him in a sense. You know, we're all co-created each other. Or we can look at it any way we want. The words always fail. Anyway, that's neat.
Well, it's a co-evolution too. You know, it's like, you know,
yeah.
So I unfortunately never met him. I never met Suzuki Roshi, but I could see him in everything, and you know, I mean. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Just,
oh, hey. All right. Wait a minute. Here, I'm going to read another thing you wrote. Here, this is in your spin-offs. Ed Brown rose out of the Soto profundity with his carbon marshmallow humor, and then several years later with his potato chip lecture at Green Gulch Farm, in which somber monks handed out potato chips so everyone could experience a potato chip a moment late together. Lou Richmond and David Chadwick gave hilarious lectures. Even the ever-serious Irishman Paul Haller picked up the baton once in a while. Yet the serious streak in Zen Center as a whole had already begun to overwhelm the old quirks and catastrophes of the past. Hey, that's really cool, man. Thanks for reminding me.
Forgot I even wrote that.
Yeah. Let me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just saying. Let me look here in your Zen stories. Hey, but say something if you had something in mind.
No. I was just, I was just remembering those moments, where I spent. I don't think it was a whole training period, but part of one with Ed Brown, and that was one of the things we did. A couple of nights, I think we toasted the marshmallows over kerosene lanterns after the night watch. After the fire watch.
Well, now that's interesting because Ed Brown was there before me. Ed Brown was the Shuso in the fall of 1973. That means you were there then, and you remembered coming in. Well, everybody always left in the interim. That's interesting. Yeah, Ed was a very good Shuso. I wasn't there, but I heard about it, and Dick would talk about it.
No, I don't think. I think he was there. I don't think I was there for his shoot. I don't remember being there for his shoots ceremony. I think he was. It was after you.
Oh,
because when you, I think he was just there to be maybe a part of some event that was going on there. I think
see.
Maybe we spent. I think it was just a short period that we actually shared the room. It could have been a work period even. I don't remember. Yeah.
I see.
I can't really, it's not clear. It's a long time ago. So, but that was a fun, and Ed was always pretty, his humor is great, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's got no pretenses.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very hard not to be pretending to be someone you're not.
Well, I find that you're that way. You're that way too. You're not. I don't find you have any pretenses either. You are who you are. That's always been my impression of you. Also, you straight up. This is David Chadwick. Here you are. This is what you get. And that was so refreshing. I know maybe that's not your own experience of yourself, but it certainly was mine of you. Very, not calculating, but I know you're calculating. I know that you think through, but you also had a certain candor. Maybe it's the candor. I don't remember, but something was very, innocent and clear and clean about you. So,
well, gosh, I blush.
No. Out of guilt or what?
Well, all right, you went up to Canada for
6 years, 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years, and you came back. And what did you do then when you came back?
I think that's when I met Jane. Yeah. Janie at Kasahara. Like I came through Peter Van de Steer. Essentially when I was up there, I was close to burnout. I was partying a lot, industrial music scene, that kind of stuff up in Vancouver. And it was pretty heavy then. There was Skinny Puppy and all that stuff that's in that deal and Frontline Assembly. I was a part of that scene, all night, partying. And that's after my Zen period, right? So here I am trying to kind of round myself out, I suppose, get Zen out of my system. So that was the effort, was to get it out of my system after 8 years to try to, find a different person there. And, but then I got some money together and I went to Japan for 4 months.
Oh, how was that?
I had leather belts and studs. It was great. I had fun. I went to the temple that all about that stuff. I went to the temple in Okinawa, or I can't remember. It's where, and then I was in Kyoto.
Wait.
I was in Tokyo,
wait. Okinawa? Are you sure you don't mean Okayama?
Yes, I mean Okayama. That's what I mean.
Oh, that's where
And,
I
I stayed
studied.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with Harada Sensei, right?
Harada
Roshi.
Shodo Roshi. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's I think he was up in Seattle recently. He went up there.
Well,
but I went to.
They have a center on Whidbey Island.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I haven't been to that, but I went there with Ernie Gunling. You remember Ernie Gunling and
I do.
Lori? They were. Yeah, he was translating there, and so I stayed with them. He was a friend of mine, so I stayed with them, and then I met, Harada's woman. What's her name? She had that place in Kyoto.
Yeah, Chi-san, Priscilla.
Yeah, and so she let me stay at her place there for a month. And then I went to, then I partied there for 2 months, actually. And bicycling around Kyoto in the middle of the night, with the beers and the fun times. And then Tokyo, and then went home. So after that, so that was the kind of getting back to the Zen part where I had been up in Canada partying for 5 years. And then it's like, well, then I went to Japan to kind of get out of that. And then I realized, God, there was a lot that I had learned about Japanese culture when I was at Zen Center, just the fact that it was a part of it, right? Mm-hmm. So I called Peter Van de Steer again, and they were taking apart the bathhouse down in Tassajara back in that day. They took down the old bathhouse. So I was part of that. So I came down, and then that's where I met Janie, was at Tassajara during the deconstruction of the bathhouse there. And we sort of, and we became a couple, and then I went back up, and then I came down to stay in California for a long time. And she had Taro and so on, and so it went. That's the narrative.
And I was living with her mother.
Yes, making music. You were making music there.
Yeah, that's when I was doing that underground stuff and conventional stuff. Yeah. But Liz was the great musician. She was wonderful. She could play. I remember one time there, I said, I'm going to go take a walk down on the beach. She said, I'll come join you. Just give me a minute. I got to get through this. I said, well, that's a Mozart concerto. Don't you have to practice it more? I mean, she'd just been asked to do it that morning to come in some event downtown. She said, no, I just want to go over it once. I said, aren't you worrying about make mistakes? And she said, I don't make mistakes. And, I've got some music, her and Janie singing maybe Finnish folk songs, because Liz was 100% Finnish blood, born in America. Spoke Finnish. Her mother told me she spoke Finnish without an accent. I was thinking about, the time with her, and I'm working with really good musicians here, or I did for a year, just a day a week as, to do something different. And I'd keep it up, but I don't have the time, and it's very cheap, but still too much. But, I just thought I didn't take enough advantage of Liz's musical ability, which was excellent. I mean, her ability to play along, she'd play along with any song I wrote, and she would instinctively play the best stuff, and she could sing really well. And I just felt like I, you know, that was I should have included her more. I mean, we did a lot of stuff together, but anyway, that's just something I was thinking.
Yeah, she was a great person.
Oh yeah, indeed. We remained close. Katrinka and I visited her before going to India in 2011, and that's when she died. When I was in India, so I was glad we saw her. Yeah, and I was very sad. I was like teary-eyed for about 3 days.
Well, yeah. No, she was. She was a wonderful person. I had a close relationship with her. She really was the touchstone of the Okamura family for me. So, because I met her at Tassajara in the kitchen. So I was working one of the training period in the kitchen, or was it the summer? I think it was a training period in the kitchen, and she was in there as well. So we sort of became friends in a sense. And then when I left and went out, I ended up playing soccer with her eldest daughter.
Huh.
Who was studying in Berkeley then. Yeah, Beth, studying in Berkeley then.
Wow.
And and so that sort of gave so when eventually years later I ran into Janie at Tassajara, then I could, I was like, well, I knew your mom and I knew your sister.
Huh.
So yeah. So she introduced me to everything there. And yeah.
That's right. Yeah, she was. Liz was there when I was director for a practice period. So you and she and I were there, and I used to go. I was living with Dia, who was Diane back then. But I would go. I didn't. I just sort of would smoke an occasional cigarette, but I would frequently go after evening zazen and go visit her in her room and bum a cigarette from her. And because she smoked Camel non-filters, but she didn't smoke a lot. She'd smoke one a day or something like that, too. Wow. That might have been her only cigarette a day. But, she got throat cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that did her in. I mean, she didn't die from it; she recovered. But the chemo, the radiation was so hard on her. Yeah, it was very sad. But I really liked her. I really liked being with her. I can still remember the first time I saw her and Rebecca Mayeno walking down the path there. More like in the late 60s or 1970s, say. I was really struck with it. She was 11 years older than me. And so if she was alive now, she'd be 89.
Wow.
And when Diane and I decided to take a break from each other, and I took Kelly, our son, and the car because she didn't need it in the city, and she was going to be the buyer for Zen Center. And when I left, I had all this stuff in the car, and Kelly, and she was saying goodbye. She said, "Where are you going to go?" And I said, "Oh, I thought I'd go south and see." I named her a woman, and she said, "Don't go see her. That's not who you like. You like Liz. Go see Liz." And it's true. So I went, you're right. And I went to Liz's house and stayed there 9 years.
There you go. That's something, eh? That's great. Yeah. Yeah, I remember the parties. We used to come from the city to some of your things down there. You know, you and Liz. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's before I knew Jane.
Oh.
The only people I knew at that point was, I didn't know Jane. I didn't know any of the kids. All I knew was Liz and you, basically from from Tasahara. So I was there before I ever met Beth or Jane. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. You played soccer with Beth. Ethan, her son Ethan, was a great soccer player. I knew his coach at Tam High. His coach said he could get a college scholarship with it. But
I played with those guys in Bolinas too, right? I played with him when I was seeing Janie. I used to play they have the games there every Sunday. So I played with Ethan, and he was an excellent player, absolutely.
That's something.
He was good. He's still he plays music now, right? He's
got a wonderful. He's done wonderful music, and he does like music for ads, and he's had stuff used by TV shows, and he's put out some albums. And a wonderful photographer, Ethan Okamura. Right. There's another Ethan Okamura who does photography. My big mistake in writing and putting out things was not using my middle name, because to me, David Chadwick was a very unusual name. But there's other David Chadwick singers, songwriters. There's other David Chadwicks who write on religion and mindfulness. I mean, now it's this giant, and if my middle name is Reich, which we called Rich. It was my mother's maiden name. If I had to use that from the first, it would, there would have been no competition in Googling, but it's too late.
You've been branded.
Yeah.
Branded.
Well,
I even found a Leland Smithson. There's another Leland Smithson out there too.
Yeah. Now my mother had a name that I never have found another one. She was, and it was not even using her middle name. Her first name was Adele, Ahdel.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Adele Chadwick. What did she use?
That's actually, that's cool.
Yeah.
The spelling.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Adele.
So wait a minute. So you're back. You're back in the Bay Area. What were you doing again?
Oh, here, I'm not really. I'm just sort of retired. I'm just
no. No, when you came back from Canada.
Oh, back.
Oh, incidentally, before you answer that, just EthanOkamura.com. That'll do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So you came back from Canada. What sort of work were you doing, or whatever you like?
It was, painting. I was basically painting for George Chacos.
Oh,
and, Yeah. George moved to Mexico. George is a good artist. He's a great painter, too. He wasn't just, and a great sculptor. He studied art, and he was in New York in the artist scene there for a long time.
Is that right?
And he just, he's excellent artist. So he built a place down in Mexico, sold his place in Berkeley, and he's still down there.
Where in Mexico?
That's where they retired to. They're on that peninsula, the Baja. They're out there on the Baja.
Oh yeah.
Towards towards the end there, towards the tip, not Cabo San Lucas, but
maybe he's in Todos
upward.
Santos. He might be in
It
Todos
could be.
Santos.
There's a lot of other Americans around there, and probably Canadians.
Yeah. Katrinka and Clay and I went and spent, oh God, I don't know how long, several weeks in Todos Santos, back when Clay was 12, 13, and other places in Baja. We loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
And my Spanish came back to me. That was neat. So you were painting.
Go ahead. Ask me a question. Go ahead. So I was painting with George, and I was with Jane and Taro. You know, Taro was born, and and so that's kind of what my life. I was traveling back and forth, and I got involved in movie work in Vancouver as well. So I was painting in San Francisco, then I went up there and I got involved in movies. I got into the union and movies up there. So I ended up going back and forth.
Now, wait a minute. In what aspect of the movies?
Well, it's painting, scenic plastering. So, all that kind of work. That's the
neat.
part of,
That's neat.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I do. And so in San Francisco, I became a member of the union down here and as a plastering and painting union. So that's how I made my livelihood. And, So
did you do any plastering painting around movie sets down here? I mean, down there?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No, I didn't get involved in movies. The movies are too hard. I handed in my resume at one point. They were doing a lot more movies up there because there's a lot of warehouses that are cheap. San Francisco Bay Area is a lot tougher. They don't have a lot of warehouse space that any movies can afford. So no, I handed it into the union down here, and then the guy said, he looked at me and he said, well, we throw these out every month, so come back, bring another one back. So it was just kind of, there wasn't a lot of work, so they have a lot of people that work in the film down here, so it was basically, I couldn't really get on a show here. It was too difficult. So no, it was just up in Vancouver. I would go up for part of the year. So I had an ideal market. I could just work here when I wanted to work here. And then when a movie happened up there, there were lots of movies up there. I just go up there. Different kinds of.
Yeah. When you said that thing about a lot of warehouses up there, that's interesting because I have some very good friends, best friends in Kyoto. In fact, they come here every year because they export art and material and craftsmanship and everything from Bali and, Vietnam and India and everywhere. But they come here once a year for about a month, and except for COVID. And they've got a warehouse in Seattle, and they spend a few months a year in Seattle. And the show, The Man in the High Tower, rented their warehouse for some use.
Wow!
And that was a far out show. Yeah. We called it
they had that.
the show that Jay and Kyoks made.
Well, that was also shooting in Vancouver too. That was up there as well. So they used both places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat. Well.
Yeah.
And then, all right. So, how did it progress from then to now?
Well, I've been writing for quite a bit. I basically do a lot of fiction, and now I'm doing sort of nonfiction. But I'm not. My stuff is not My characters are not developed well and all that stuff. But that's been the sort of the stream that's run through everything since Zen Center. I've done a lot of stuff. And that's the sort of side of myself that's the artist side that, I still struggle with. So, but it's the part.
Is it available anywhere?
Well, it was at one point with small presses. There were small presses that I never self-published. It was always a small press that wanted to pick me up and carry me forward. But you end up in the modern realm when you go and they put stuff up on Amazon, et cetera, but anyone can.
Yeah.
So it wasn't with it wasn't with a big publisher. So you need a good publisher. You got to get a good agent. And they're always looking for stuff. Well, my stuff is a little top heavy, what they call, there's a little bit too much thought involved and not enough character development or enough hooks for empathy to occur in the characters. So
yeah, don't worry about that. I think you should just write what you want. There's a million different ways to write. You don't need to develop characters if that's not what you want to do. Kurt Vonnegut didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't describe characters. You could have a website. The thing about self-publishing is, it's free and it's there and it doesn't have a monthly charge.
Well, I've never wanted to self-publish, but you do have to get a website if you really want to get, sold. But
I don't think about that. I just think about getting it online,
getting it out,
and then just do something else.
Yeah.
That and then just keep adding to it. It's just sort of fun. To me. Spending a lot of time trying to promote things is it can work, but I think it's better just to not worry about that. But it's neat to get stuff online because then you can just tell somebody, just go to so and so, and they can get it. It's very hard to make any money selling. Even with publisher, you got to be big.
I know that too. Yeah.
And there's audio books.
No,
you got a good voice.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, but that was part of the thing. It's like I had about 4 books out, right? So 4 books on the sort of science fiction, magical realism, sort of semi-horror stuff, and so those were published by different publishers. One in Toronto, and there was one in back east. And those were always out. Those were out for like 8 years. But I never, what you have to do is, there were people calling in when a book first came out. And I was a little lazy. Something, you only get one shot. When you put stuff out and people are responding or reacting to it, you have to respond to that.
Yeah, that's true.
And, so you get a one-shot deal there. And I wasn't. I was so lazy. I was kind of like, well, we'll let it, fly on its own and so on. But it didn't really work. And not only that, your effort has to be absolutely perfect, when you put something out there. So I was there's sort of a, prolific in a sense, doing a lot and getting stuff out in, like sending out to agents, for example, just sending out to agents when something's not really finished. That's not a good idea because you get one shot with that person too. So, I basically have not given up. I don't give up. But in terms of getting something out there, to me, I have to get something out of me first. And that's critical. So, and then knowing why something isn't, it's hard. There's a name for something that's top heavy. You know what I mean by top heavy, right? It's too much cognitive load. That's another word for it. Cognitive load. So in other words, a lot of complex plotting and ideas and so on. And unless people can keep up with it, the character has to pull them through, and if the character can't pull them through, they can't be bothered. So,
yeah, it sounds like
still,
what you're saying sounds right.
I know what I need to do, and so what I need to do, when you wrote, like, your stuff I really enjoyed reading your books on Zen. Your time in Japan when you were there in the monastery and so on. They're very funny. They're really great because you were into it. You have to have the spirit into it. So when you're in your head trying to produce something, you have to have an emotional component. And so that's where I'm at now, is trying to really await for the emotion, the power, this something that will drive everything forward. And so that's where I'm at. It's just kind of, anyway, David, that's just an aside. I didn't mean to bring all that stuff up, but
I think it's very interesting. I think it's interesting. Yeah.
But you got the creative side. Everybody's got to do something.
Yeah. Well, why don't you send me a list of the books you've done, because they'd still be available as used books.
I think that both of the publishers went under. But the second one actually got bought up by another publisher who has very specific things in mind. So they've kind of sidelined my stuff. But what I'll do is, all you can do is you just go Leland Smithson. You can basically Google me, for novels or something. Even though Goodreads has, on Goodreads there's listings of, and the books are up. So you can find all that. It's still out there.
You mean like the Imago Shell?
Yeah, Imago Shell was one of the early ones, and then there's one called Geomorph.
Yeah,
and then,
I see it. Geomorph,
yeah,
Amalgam, the bonding twin.
Yeah. And then the one that you promoted on your site, it wasn't promoted, it was just that first one I did, which is called something Fountain.
Aurelia's Fountain.
Aurelia's Fountain, yeah. So those four went out there, and a lot of work went into them. So I've since, of course, re-edited them many times, and I have new titles for them to ship them out again. So the actual publishers they're not promoting it. So I'm just going to, take it out of circulation. They're not in circulation anymore. But, so I have much bigger ones that I've been working on that are much bigger than those, that, they're so big, like 130,000 words, or, that to shape it is a real task, right? Every time you're working on something. I mean, if anyone knew how difficult it is to do a big piece, a lot of people wouldn't even start it, right? So anyway, those are the ones. Yeah, those are the ones that were out there through smaller publishers.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I understand what you're saying. Like, I've been working on Tassajara stories since not long after I came here, and I wasn't really thinking. I was just writing down things I remembered, and I wrote sort of like short pieces. And I just kept doing it, and I eventually had about 100 of them. And
wow.
then I started looking into it further and had all sorts of notes and everything. And then Wendy Piercing, a couple of years ago, it was the widow of Robert Piercing, it's in the Art of Motorcycle Management.
Yeah.
She is she's done a lot for Cuke Archives, and worked on, light edits of Suzuki lectures and transcribing new ones. Wow. Anyway, she went, I read them. I read them all in podcasts, everything I had.
Wow.
And, that took like a year or something. And, then, just the act of reading them, then I might edit it a little, and then she edited all of that. And I went over all of that, a couple of months ago, and I went over like all my notes, in a few weeks. And I've been trying to get back and finish it up this year. I don't think, you were talking about how much work it takes to do something. I don't think I can put that much work into something again because I'm doing too many things and I just don't want to. Yeah. So really, I think there's more important things that I'm doing, and I really am not sure, how much, I'd rather be a lot of times editing Suzuki audio from the lectures, because I've started doing that and, taking out coughs and spaces and, working with the noise and stuff. I really like doing that. And that is like, it's a totally different way to spend time. It's very peaceful and so, in terms of actually coming up with some book, I can do that. I don't know if it'll be any good, but I should do something. I have to have it on my mind and not have other things on my mind. There can be other things in my mind somewhat, but like this thing I'm doing with Mel's book now, it's taken all week. It's on my mind all the time. It's what I'm thinking of. Well, not all the time, but, and other things come up because I'm working with other people on Cuke.com, and a lot of it will be very complicated. And then I think, well, I have to look into this. And for a couple of days, that's what I think about it. It's like, and that's one reason why I stopped doing music, which is okay because I usually don't do music. And that it gets on my mind. So, right now I'm thinking, well, I got to get that out of the way and that out of the way. And then I just have to get away somewhere. I've got to just, it's got to be the only thing it's got to be the only pressing thing on my mind. And then my mind starts working on it. Right. I mean, it's doing that anyway, but, I don't know if I'll be able to do it. I think so, but it's like I need to go run and hide somewhere. You know?
No, and that's always what it's about, right? That you got to almost be obsessed. It's not obsessed. That's a strong word, but to give it its due, you have to be. That has to be. That's all you're looking at.
Right. Right.
Every one of your books that I read is you got to focus, and your focus carries through to the end. It does. So yeah, I mean, I'm just saying what you already said. So, that's why it's exhausting. It's exhausting, it's exhausting.
Incidentally, the podcasts, I was doing 6 a week, and 2 of them would be talking with people, and the others would be what I call mini podcasts. Okay. But, so now I've been This year I've gone down to just one a week. They do not interfere with my thinking. I love doing the podcasts, and it's time consuming. We'll spend a couple hours talking, and then it will probably take me a few hours to get it ready and get it up. But I like doing that, and that doesn't. I don't think about that. I just think about it when we're talking and when I'm working on it, getting it up. I'll remember something somebody said.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a good thing I heard yesterday, because I think it was yesterday. Yeah, I talked to Lee Klinger Lesser, and so she'll be a podcast. Incidentally, the podcasts I'm doing now, I'm at least a couple of months ahead, so it'll be a couple of months before it goes up. And she was talking about taking care of Harry Roberts. Did you ever meet him?
That rings a bell. I can't picture him though.
He was a Yurok shaman and an agricultural advisor to Green Gulch, and he was a crusty old guy. I think his words she used, and he had a lot of students. He was very wise, and he was sort of a cowboy. He'd been a cowboy, and he had a native plant nursery, and he died at Avance. He lived his last years at Avance. Anyway, she was helping to take care of him, and he had to walk with crutches, and she said she went out for a walk with him. They'd go for a walk every now and then, and he'd say, all right, tell me what you see. And she'd say that. She said, and then he'd tell me everything I didn't see that I hadn't mentioned. And that was neat. But then he said to her, and I've thought about this a lot. I really like it. He said, what do you think about this meditation stuff you're doing at Green Gulch? He said, how do you understand that, or something like that? And she said, well, I don't really. He said, well, I'll tell you what it's about. He said, it's about something like calming down all that busy stuff going on in your mind. And then you find your song. Number 2 is you find your song. And number 3 is you sing your song.
Wow. Okay.
I thought that was so great.
Yeah, that is good. Find your song and sing your song.
Calm your mind down.
Yeah.
Find your song. Sing your song. What a great way to say that.
Yeah. That kind of beats out trying to. I mean, when you're trying to describe shikantaza, for example, it's a state that's inexplicable, really. But a song, find your song and sing your song. That's very clear to me. Yeah. Anyway.
Eric Larson was a student of Harry's.
Oh, Eric Larson was the guy that I went with John Bales. Eric Larson and I and John Bales were the ones that. Oh,
another Harvard guy, right? Well,
yes, that was it.
I'm going to do a podcast with him soon. And there's some very interesting stuff about him, but I'm not going to mention it now. But anyway, I think he can clarify some things about Harry and Harry's teaching, because he studied with him for years.
Oh, he did, eh? I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. Well, look, is there anything you want to say in conclusion?
No, David, it's been a real pleasure talking with you and meeting you again. Really through this, and I'm really happy that you're still the same person you were, the creative person, the one that's, you're still doing all this stuff, and it's just an inspiration. I appreciate knowing you. So thank you for this call. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, I really appreciated what you had to say. I'm very impressed with how you're still working on this writing, and you're still swimming. That swimming you're doing is really serious. I mean, it's way beyond what I do.
No, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's great. And it's good to hear about Jane and Taro and Tassara and the snow and everything. So it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay.
And
all right, David.
Yeah. Well, take care.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So thanks a lot, Leland Smithson. Very interesting, I've known that guy forever. And I learned so much about it that way. So until we meet again. This is DC Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Senor with Doggy Bandita, Feline Cuchita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.